My name is Andrew Hagle, and many of you know me as Sniggle Fluffy on Experience Project or Truckin' Hubby on Twitter. There's a book that my wife has been reading. It's called The Marketing of Evil. It was released in 2005, and here's the page for it on Amazon. You can order it through Amazon. It's available in either print or Kindle edition. It's like a lot of other books, and it's quite fascinating. And with my wife reading this book, telling me about it, started thinking about the famous Paul Harvey radio broadcast, the one called If I Were the Devil, and just how If I Were the Devil relates to this book and to the evil that's out there, and just how prophetic it was, especially considering that this broadcast was done in 1965. So I'm actually going to start out by playing the original broadcast for you, and then I actually have a series of different videos that really take this apart and see just how true this is, and how significant the evil is out there, and how it's not new. Not quite sure how many videos I'm going to end up with because it's such an in-depth topic, but I think it's definitely a lot of subjects that need to be broached. So this is the first in the series of videos on If I Were the Devil. And now I'm going to play the original Paul Harvey broadcast for you, just to set everything in context.
If I were the devil. If I were the devil. If I were the prince of darkness, I'd want to engulf the whole world in darkness, and I'd have a third of its real estate and 4/5 of its population, but I wouldn't be happy until I had seized the ripest apple on the tree. Thee. So I'd set about, however necessary, to take over the United States. I'd subvert the churches first. I'd begin with a campaign of whispers. With the wisdom of the serpent, I would whisper to you as I whispered to Eve, do as you please. To the young, I would whisper that the Bible is a myth. I would convince them that man created God instead of the other way around. I would confide that what's bad is good and what's good is square. And the old I would teach to pray after me, Our Father, which art in Washington. And then I'd get organized. I'd educate authors in how to make lurid literature exciting so that anything else would appear dull and uninteresting. I'd threaten TV with dirtier movies and vice versa. I'd peddle narcotics to whom I could. I'd sell alcohol to ladies and gentlemen of distinction. I'd tranquilize the rest with pills. If I were the devil, I'd soon have families at war with themselves, churches at war with themselves, and nations at war with themselves, until each in its turn was consumed. And with promises of higher ratings, I'd have mesmerizing media fanning the flames. If I were the devil, I would encourage schools to refine young intellects, but neglect to discipline emotions. Just let those run wild. Until before you knew it, you'd have to have drug-sniffing dogs and metal detectors at every schoolhouse door. Within a decade, I'd have prisons overflowing. I'd have judges promoting pornography. Soon I could evict God from the courthouse, then from the schoolhouse, and then from the houses of Congress. And in his own churches, I would substitute psychology for religion and deify science. I would lure priests and pastors into misusing boys and girls and church money. If I were the devil, I'd make the symbol of Easter an egg and the symbol of Christmas a bottle. If I were the devil, I'd take from those who have and give to those who wanted until I had killed the incentive of the ambitious. And what'll you bet? I couldn't get whole states to promote gambling as the way to get rich. I would caution against extremes in hard work, in patriotism, in moral conduct. I would convince the young that marriage is old-fashioned, that swinging is more fun, that what you see on TV is the way to be. And thus I could undress you in public, and I could lure you into bed with diseases for which there is no cure. In other words, if I were the devil, I'd just keep right on doing what he's doing. Paul Harvey. Good day.
In this first part, we're going to take two parts of the original radio broadcast that Paul Harvey did from April 3rd, 1965. One is the part about going after the ripest apple, the United States. And also the other part is where he talks to the young, that he would whisper in part that what is bad is good and what is good is square. So this is the first part of series of this, and it starts with a conversation with my wife, Kathy, on the marketing of evil and how this relates to this original radio broadcast and exactly how serious the problem of evil is and exactly where we're going with it. So now, with everything that's gone on, here with my lovely wife, Kathy. Many of you know her as Truckinwife on either Experience Project or Twitter. And she has a book that she's been reading. It's called The Marketing of Evil. Now, what did you find in that book, honey?
Well, it's talking, the first part of the book on the cover page, it says how radicals, elitists, suited experts sell as corruption disguised as freedom. And it's talking about how the government and people that are in charge in society have led us down a slow slide to debauchery, and that everything that we considered as morals back then are now considered okay. It's kind of unnerving things that we would not considered okay. Now they're saying it's okay to do, like, for instance, the cutting that we are now seeing more and more prevalent within girls and within boys. Instead of speaking out or vocalizing that they're hurt by something, people now turn to knives and scissors and other things to cut their body up, and they think it's okay. So, like, for instance, in the book it was talking about how this one girl broke up with her boyfriend and he started dating another girl. Well, to take care of her pain, she sliced herself. No wonder our children are rebelling. In today's insane Sodom and Gomorrah culture, which we have allowed and in many ways created, stands waiting in the wings to welcome them with open arms. So we've set our children up to accept things that years ago we would have considered abuse or torture.
Amazing.
It's amazing, and it's honestly, to me, kind of a part that was talking about suspension, and it's not like car suspension, which innocently both my husband's and my sons said, oh, well, it's like car suspension. Yeah, okay. No, this is like people finding spiritual highs, according to what this one website mentioned. I will not name the website because I don't think it needs any attention whatsoever. People hanging themselves on hooks.
And that's hanging themselves on hooks with, like, into their skin, right?
Yes.
That just, thought of that just makes me want to...
And then there was this other one.
Chasing, then, is it?
Bug chasing, yeah. I thought bug chasing, okay, bug chasing, little 3-year-old kid going down the street looking for ants. Well, no, bug chasing is not that. It's grown men seeking out and finding other men that are either infected with HIV or AIDS to get this sexual high in obtaining the disease AIDS.
So in other words, you're saying that they're willfully making themselves HIV positive.
Yes. They think it's the ultimate sexual high.
So you think that's what Paul Harvey says when he said, to the young I would whisper, the Bible is a myth. I would convince them that man created God instead of the other way around. I would convince them that what is bad is good and what is good is square.
Yeah. Or what is bad is good and what is good is bad.
Yikes.
It says that in the Bible. I forget exactly what scripture it is, but it talks about that that eventually in the end times that it will be taught what is good is evil and what is evil is good.
Amazing.
And the scary part of it is for so long, and the book talks about this too, we as a society have really failed ourselves and our youth, and this has gone on for generations. And I would say the start of the real weird stuff was in the 60s.
It's interesting, though, that the radio broadcast that Paul Harvey made was 1965. That was the year before I was born. That was about 3 years after you were born.
Yeah, I was a 3-year-old at that time.
I wasn't even born in 1965.
And you know, the amazing thing is people like Bill Ayers that Obama has going and helping him was at that time a young adult dealing with things with like Weather Underground, and look at what Bill Ayers and people like him want to promote with our youth.
Amazing.
And you know, the thing that bothers me is now our youth, through groups that will remain unnamed, want to solve problems in evil ways and do evil in the name of good. So they go out there and they do things that are willfully illegal to try to make a difference when there's other ways to go about it if people just stood up and made a difference.
So how would you say we as Christians could change this?
First of all, I would say that we would have to really stand, as a Christian, you have to stand on your faith. You say, I'm not going any further. But also in that, you can't take the humanity out of the human. Even though somebody is doing something you don't morally agree with, you don't throw the human out. Because they were as made in God's image as you and I are. And unfortunately, you get two sides of the thing. You get one side that's so overwhelmingly soft. It's like they don't want to say anything that's not politically correct because they are afraid that someone's going to run from the Bible. And so they make the Bible wash down. And you don't want to wash down the message, because if you wash down the message, it just ruins the message completely. On the other hand, you don't want to get to be what a lot of people call Bible thumpers. No one has won Christ over by hitting them upside the head with the Bible, literally or figuratively. You can sit there and quote scripture until you turn blue in the face, but if someone doesn't accept that scripture, then they're not going to get it. But there's ways to talk about scripture to them that isn't scripture, but makes sense in their mindset, that it's like, oh yeah, okay, without even saying John chapter 3, verse 16, or any of that, because then the minute you say that, then it's like, and then you do this taboo thing, because society is taught us that the Bible is taboo and the Bible is awful mean and gross. But how can we say that society is not awful mean and gross when we accept things that are just absolutely horrendous? I mean, the things that so far this book has been describing, like slicing your tongue to make it look like a snake's tongue. I mean, the idea of messing around with your body because you want to get some spiritual high, you don't need to do that. And Christ never asked us to do that as Christians. He didn't ask us to do bloodletting. And if these people think that this is the newest, coolest rage, that they have done this, and this is like the step forward for society, I've got news for them. This happened in times of the Bible. I mean,
I'm Andrew Hagle. I brought you this message. I'm on the Experience Project as Sniggle Fluffy. I'm on Twitter is Truckin' Hubby. I'm on Patriot Action, Vimeo, YouTube, and Facebook under my own name. Thank you for watching, and God bless.